Ladies and gentlemen, most people move through life asking, why is this happening to me? But the truth is, nothing is happening to you. It's happening for you. When you understand this, you begin to grasp a level of power that most people never access in their lifetime. There's a divine rhythm to this universe, an unseen intelligence that operates beyond what we can comprehend with the naked eye. What looks like delay is often divine timing. What feels like rejection is redirection. And what you see as pain may, in fact, be the very portal to the strength and wisdom you'll one day thank God for. You're not a random accident floating through space. You're a deliberate creation, wired with potential, coded with power, and placed on Earth for a reason. Every experience you're going through right now, yes, even the uncomfortable, the unfair, the heartbreaking, is part of a bigger architecture. The mind cannot always see it in the moment, but it's being revealed in pieces, like a mosaic that doesn't make sense when you're standing too close. But step back, and the design becomes obvious. That's how God's plan works. You might not see the full picture, but trust me, there is one. And it's far bigger than your current frustration. See, people think life should be linear, that if they do everything right, life will hand them the results they want. But that's not how transformation works. Growth comes from friction. Evolution comes from uncertainty. You grow when you're pressed. You rise when you're crushed. God will often use discomfort as a wake-up call to pull you from environments, relationships, jobs, and situations that no longer serve your purpose. And while you're busy crying over the closed door, God is preparing a better one. But the problem is, you're so focused on the pain, you miss the promotion. Now, let's talk about timing. You think you're late. You think you've missed your chance, but timing isn't about clocks. It's about alignment. What you want is already out there, it exists, but until you grow into the version of yourself who is ready to handle it, it will be withheld from you. Not out of cruelty, out of divine protection. You don't give a toddler a sword. Likewise, you don't receive a vision or a break through you're not yet mentally, emotionally, or spiritually prepared to sustain. God's plan includes your preparation, and that includes the delay, the pause, the seemingly endless wait that drives you mad. But here's the shift. That waiting season is not wasted. It's working on you. It's building muscle you didn't even know you needed. You must begin to see setbacks as setups, not metaphorically, but literally. That job you didn't get. It protected your energy. That person who walked away, they cleared space for someone with more integrity. That project that failed, it taught you the strategy that will make the next one succeed. But if you're stuck in bitterness, if you're locked in self-pity, you won't be able to perceive the gift inside the struggle. And perception is everything. Two people can go through the same storm, one becomes broken, the other becomes built. The difference, perspective. When you look through the lens of divine purpose, nothing is wasted. Not your tears, not your failures, not even your darkest moments. They're ingredients in the fire, and fire doesn't just destroy. Fire forges, fire hardens, fire purifies. You don't ask a swordsmith to make you strong and then complain about the heat. No, you submit to the process because you trust the outcome. Likewise, when you trust that your life is in God's hands, you begin to embrace the fire, because you know it's not here to burn you down. It's here to bring you out stronger, sharper, and ready for battle. The problem is, we try to skip the fire. We try to escape the pressure. We want the result without the resistance, but there's no growth in comfort. Diamonds are created under pressure. Gold is purified in fire. Muscles are built through tearing. Your soul is no different. There is no glory without the grind, no strength without struggle, and certainly no purpose without pain. When you understand that your pain is part of God's curriculum, you stop resisting the lesson. You start learning. And when you start learning, you start rising. People think miracles are magical, that they fall out of the sky. But real miracles are logical. They're the result of alignment, of being in the right place at the right time, in the right state of mind. You don't attract break. Through from desperation, you attract it from alignment, from trust, from obedience. From action, when you start to believe, truly believe, that every detour is divine, you stop panicking in uncertainty. You start preparing in silence because you know that if you've been delayed for a reason. And when the time is right, nothing will stop what's meant for you. So when life gets heavy, when the road feels unfair, when the people you trusted betray you, when the doors slam shut, when the darkness surrounds you, remember this, it's all part of the plan. Not just the joy, not just the success, but the pain, the struggle, the confusion. All of it is a tool in the hands of a master builder. You are not being buried, you are being planted. And if you don't give up, if you don't cave to bitterness, if you don't surrender to fear, you will rise from this. Not just restored, but transformed, because nothing in your life is random, not one moment. Every second has been orchestrated for your growth, for your strength, for your calling. Life will bend you. It will pull you in directions you didn't expect, stretch you past your comfort zone, and test you far beyond what you thought was your limit. And in those moments, those cold, quiet, isolated moments, you begin to wonder if you're being broken. But the truth is, you were never meant to break. You were designed to endure, to adapt, and to rise. There's a resilience built into your soul that most people never tap into because they quit too soon. They assume the pressure is a sign to stop, but pressure isn't a warning. It's a sign that transformation is near. What you're going through is not here to crush you. It's here to reveal the strength that was already inside you. You were built to bend, not break. That's not just poetic language. It's spiritual engineering. Like bamboo, you may be bent so far you touch the ground, but the moment the pressure is released, you snap back stronger. The same storm that wipes out weaker structures can't uproot something that knows how to bend with the wind. Flexibility is power, adaptability is mastery. When life comes at you fast and throws you off balance, your ability to stay grounded in your truth while adjusting to the chaos is what separates the conquerors from the casualties. Look around you. The people who make it to the other side of pain aren't always the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who refuse to give in. They're the ones who, despite being tired, bruised, and full of doubt, got back up one more time. Not because they felt strong, but because something inside told them that quitting wasn't an option. That's what it means to bend. You allow the hardship to shape you, but not shatter you. You allow the pain to pass through, but not define you. And most importantly, you recognize that just because you feel weak doesn't mean you are weak. Strength is not found in comfort. It's discovered in discomfort. If you think life should be easy, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Growth lives in resistance. That's not a flaw in the system, it is the system. Just as muscles only grow when they're torn and rebuilt, your soul evolves through trial and reconstruction. And the universe, God, will often allow pressure to push you toward your purpose. He will allow people to walk away. He will allow the plan you clung to fall apart, because sometimes what you want is too small for the calling on your life. And if you're not willing to let go willingly, life will force the release, not to punish you, to position you. There is no growth without stretching. Think about it, everything that develops must expand beyond its current form. A seed splits to become a tree. A caterpillar dissolves inside a cocoon before becoming a butterfly. A baby growing inside the womb pushes the mother's body to adapt in unimaginable ways, and yet we're surprised when life stretches us. But the pain of stretching is sacred. It's a signal that you're outgrowing your old self. You're being pulled into a version of you that is stronger, more capable, more aligned with your higher purpose. And the more you resist the stretch, the more painful it becomes. But when you surrender, not in weakness but in wisdom, you realize that this isn't a breakdown. It's a breakthrough in disguise. Most people let fear of pain paralyze them, but fear is a liar. It will whisper that you're not ready, that you can't handle it, that it's too much, but your endurance isn't based on your feelings, it's based on your design. You were wired with divine durability. The fact that you've survived everything that was meant to destroy you is proof. You've already endured more than some people ever will, and you're still here breathing, thinking, searching. That's not weakness. That's unbreakable will. People spend so much time running from pain that they never stop to ask what it's trying to teach them. Pain isn't the enemy. Pain is the messenger. It tells you where you need to heal. It exposes what no longer belongs. It shows you where the work must be done, and instead of numbing it, ignoring it, or complaining about it, you must learn to listen to it. Lean into it, because every great transformation is born in discomfort. The sooner you understand that, the faster you grow. The most dangerous thing you can believe is that struggle means you're failing. No, struggle means you're becoming. The greatest versions of people are forged in the fire, not pampered into existence. Look back at your life. The moments you grew the most were also the ones that hurt the most, the times you lost everything. You found out what really mattered. The people who betrayed you, they revealed what real loyalty looks like. The plans that collapsed, they made room for something greater, but you only saw the beauty after you survived the storm. Life isn't asking you to avoid pressure. It's asking you to rise under it, to expand inside of it, to bend with grace, with resilience, and with unwavering faith. You were not created to live small, to hide, to stay where it's safe. You were created to stretch, to evolve, to walk through the fire and come out refined. And the next time life tries to bend you, remember, it's not trying to break you. It's waking up the warrior within. Life has an unusual way of revealing your power, not through praise, not through comfort, but through pressure. Through moments that feel so heavy, so unfair, that you question everything. Moments that leave you standing alone, unsure, and wondering why everything seems to be falling apart. But here's what you must understand deep in your core. Those moments are not signals of defeat. They are signals of becoming. You are not weak because you're bending under pressure. You are proving moment by moment that you were built to bend, not to break. That design was intentional. That flexibility was engineered into your very being. The strongest structures in the world aren't rigid, they flex. They absorb the energy of storms, of earthquakes, of impact, and they remain standing. Because their strength isn't in being unmovable, it's in knowing how to move with what's thrown at them. The same applies to you. If life expected you to be perfect, unshakable, untouchable, it would have made you something else. But you were given emotions, a soul, a will, a spirit, things that allow you to bend, adapt, respond, and rise. So, when the world begins to press on you from all sides, you must stop thinking of yourself as fragile and start realizing that pressure is not your enemy. It's your evidence, evidence that you are not only still here, but still being prepared for something greater. People often confuse breaking with bending. Just because you feel exhausted, just because your spirit feels bruised, doesn't mean you've been broken. It means you're alive, it means you're enduring, it means you're in the middle of transformation. When life applies pressure, it is stretching you to contain more. More strength, more wisdom, more capacity, and you must welcome the stretch. Not because it feels good, but because you trust where it's taking you. Look at every version of growth in nature. Trees don't shoot straight into the sky without resistance from the wind. Mountains aren't formed overnight, they are shaped over millennia by pressure, erosion, friction. Even the human body, when it wants to grow stronger, must be pushed beyond its comfort, must tear and rebuild muscle fibers, must be stressed to evolve. Your spirit works the same way. The pain you're feeling isn't senseless, it's shaping. It's revealing the limits you once had so that you can exceed them. The truth most people avoid is this: discomfort is not only part of the journey, it is the journey. And if you expect anything else, you're setting yourself up for resentment, disappointment, and failure. The people who rise, the people who transcend circumstances, are not those who never struggled. They're the ones who learned to be at peace in the stretch. They learned that bending does not mean weakness. It means you have enough internal power to stay rooted while life tries to twist you in directions you never planned. Every detour, every heartbreak, every failure that left you wondering if you could keep going was never meant to crush your soul. It was meant to reveal it, reveal the depth of your endurance, the depth of your faith, the depth of your purpose. And the more you resist that process, the more painful it becomes. Because the universe God will not stop pressing on you until you become what you were designed to be. And make no mistake, you were designed for more than survival. You were made to expand, to evolve, to become. Most people break not because life is too hard, but because they've never learned how to bend. They cling to control. They expect guarantees, they want comfort in every step, but nothing real, nothing great is born from a place of comfort. Comfort keeps you average. Pressure awakens your greatness. You were not created to remain who you were 5 years ago, last month, or even yesterday. You were made to stretch, to shift mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and to rise in alignment with a bigger version of yourself. What's breaking down in your life right now isn't always an attack. Sometimes it's a clearing, a reset, a redirection. When the things you once leaned on start to crumble, it's a sign that you're meant to lean on something deeper, your faith, your inner knowing, your vision. And when you bend with the storm instead of fighting it, you keep your foundation intact. The branches that snap are the ones that refuse to move. But those that yield to the wind, they survive, they grow. They reach even higher after the storm passes. When you look at what you've endured, at what you've overcome already, you should understand something important you've been training all along. Every setback, every loss, every silent season of confusion wasn't wasted. It taught you how to stand when everything around you is shaking. It taught you how to keep your focus when distractions screamed for your attention. It taught you how to find peace in pain. And now you carry a kind of strength the world can't see, but can't deny. So many people are waiting for the storm to end before they believe in their power. But power isn't found in the absence of the storm. It's found in how you show up in it. Your mindset while you're bending is what determines how you'll rise. If you believe the pressure is the end, you'll collapse. But if you believe it's the beginning, you'll evolve. And the truth is, the old version of you needs to be pressed so the new version can emerge. Bending is not a sign of failure. It's a sacred invitation to become something more, something stronger, something unstoppable. Faith is not just a concept reserved for quiet prayers or whispered hopes. It is an active, transformative force that can rewire the way you think, feel, and live. When you carry real faith, not the kind that wavers with circumstances, but the kind that is rooted deep within your spirit, you begin to take control of your emotional state in ways that most people never will. Because the moment you believe that there is something bigger guiding your path, something greater than your own understanding overseeing the unfolding of your life, fear starts to lose its power over you, doubt begins to dissolve, and anxiety born from the illusion of control starts to fade into something far less intimidating. Faith, when lived fully, becomes your emotional compass. Too many people allow their emotions to dictate their actions, their decisions, and even their self-worth. They wake up feeling low and assume the entire day is ruined. They face a setback and instantly internalize it as a reflection of their value. This emotional volatility comes from the absence of grounded belief. Because when you believe that everything is random, that you are a victim to whatever life throws at you, then it makes sense that your emotions would constantly swing from hope to despair. But when you begin to live from faith, from the conviction that every step, every detour, every delay is serving a divine purpose, your emotional state becomes less reactive and more resilient. You no longer get knocked down by every inconvenience. Instead, you pause, breathe, and remember, this is part of the plan. The mind is a powerful machine, but it is easily corrupted by fear, especially when left unchecked. Faith operates like a filter. It separates truth from distortion. It keeps your thoughts aligned with purpose rather than panic. Without faith, your mind becomes a breeding ground for worst-case scenarios. But with faith, your thoughts begin to shift. Instead of asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" you start to ask, "What if this is exactly what I need?" That one change in language creates a ripple effect across your entire emotional system. You're no longer feeding fear, you're feeding trust, and what you feed is what grows. When faith becomes your default setting, peace becomes your natural state. Not because life suddenly gets easier, but because you've learned how to anchor yourself in something unshakable. You no longer need to understand every detail of the journey to feel safe. That safety comes from knowing that even the confusion has a purpose. Even the pain is productive, even the delays are divine. This isn't passive resignation, it's active surrender. It's looking at chaos and choosing to trust anyway. It's hearing the noise of doubt and choosing to believe anyway. And over time, that repeated choice rewires your brain, literally. Neurologically, faith-based thinking begins to override panic-based patterns. Your mind starts to default toward calm rather than chaos. That's not magic. It's alignment. Emotions are energy. They are vibrations that influence how you perceive and respond to the world. Faith raises your emotional frequency. It lifts you out of the low vibrational states of fear, anger, and despair and places you in alignment with gratitude, peace, and expectancy. And when your emotional frequency rises, your decisions improve, your clarity sharpens, your reactions slow down. You stop spiraling and you start creating. From that elevated state, you don't just survive life, you begin to design it consciously. You become intentional, present, and powerful, but it's important to understand that faith is not always a feeling. It's a decision. There will be days when doubt screams louder than belief, when the evidence in front of you contradicts the promises you're holding on to. That's when you choose. That's when faith becomes real, not in the sunshine but in the storm. You decide, despite the fear, to speak the truth of your future. You decide, despite the loneliness, to believe you're being guided, and that choice repeated day after day rewires how you feel. It creates stability in the soul. You don't ignore the emotions. You master them, you understand them. You thank them for what they're showing you, but you do not obey them when they're driven by fear, because you are not a servant to your feelings. You are a servant to your purpose. Faith is not the absence of negative emotions, it's the authority to override them. It's the ability to sit in the middle of uncertainty and still declare, "I know I'm exactly where I'm meant to be." That kind of declaration changes your biology. Your posture changes, your breath deepens, your mind clears, your heart opens, and in that space, new ideas begin to flow. Insight rises, solutions appear, not because your problems disappeared, but because your perception evolved. This is what it means to rewire your emotional state, not to fake positivity, not to numb yourself, but to root yourself so deeply in truth that even when fear knocks, it doesn't get to move in. Faith teaches you how to welcome every emotion, but not to be controlled by any of them. It teaches you to observe without attachment, to trust without needing proof, to rest in the knowledge that you are being led even when you can't see where. That's emotional maturity, that's spiritual power, that's the kind of faith that reshapes not just how you think, but how you live. You are not stuck. No matter how deep the hole feels, no matter how long you've been in the same cycle, no matter what your past looks like, your destiny is not written in stone. Destiny is not something handed to you. It's something you co-create. And the moment you realize that your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions carry the power to shape your future, you unlock a level of freedom that most people never experience. You don't have to accept where you are as the final chapter. You don't have to keep reliving the same patterns. You can change, you can rise, you can completely recode your destiny, but you have to be willing to confront what's currently writing it for you, your mindset. Most people are not victims of their circumstances, they are prisoners of their conditioning. They don't even realize they're operating from outdated programming, passed down from childhood, society, trauma, and repetition. They say, "This is just how I am," without ever questioning who told them that. But the truth is, every time you think a thought, speak a word, or make a decision, you are casting a vote for the person you are becoming. If your thoughts are rooted in limitation, your life will reflect that. If your beliefs are soaked in doubt, your path will mirror it. That's not fate, that's feedback, and it can be rewritten. The moment you choose to take full responsibility for your internal world, your external world begins to change. You don't wait for permission, you don't wait for a sign, you don't wait for the perfect moment. You decide right here, right now, that you are the architect. You take back the pen and start rewriting the script, and it begins with a decision to believe differently. To believe that you were created with a purpose, to believe that your pain has meaning, to believe that your past doesn't disqualify your future. Because belief is the root of every outcome. If you don't believe it's possible, you'll never take the action to make it real. People often misunderstand destiny. They think it's fixed, like a track you're forced to walk, but destiny is fluid. It responds to the choices you make. The version of you that's broke, afraid, insecure, unsure, and disconnected is not the only version that exists. There is a version of you that is powerful, focused, disciplined, aligned, and destined for greatness. But that version isn't unlocked by wishing. It's unlocked by work, the inner work. The work of challenging your patterns, confronting your fears, breaking the cycle of self-sabotage, and intentionally aligning your thoughts with the outcome you desire. It's not enough to want a better life. You must become the person who is capable of living that life. That means rewiring your habits, your language, your associations, your rituals. You have to remove the labels you've worn for years. The stories you've told yourself about why it can't happen, the emotional attachments to failure that keep you stuck. You have to decide that the old you, the one who settles, who procrastinates, who doubts, is no longer in charge. And this isn't something that happens once. It's a daily commitment, a constant redirection of energy. Every action you take is either reinforcing the life you want or the one you're trying to escape. There is no neutral ground. When you say you want more but keep making choices that contradict it, you create resistance. Your words and your energy are out of alignment. And the universe doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to what you embody. That's why changing your destiny isn't just about speaking affirmations or hoping for luck. It's about becoming the living embodiment of the future you desire. That version of you walks differently, talks differently, thinks differently, and you have access to that version at any time. You just have to activate it. Activation happens in the small moments, when you choose to get up instead of staying down, when you decide to speak truth instead of fear, when you take a risk even when the outcome is uncertain, when you set boundaries where you used to compromise. These tiny shifts compound, they build momentum, and eventually they create a new trajectory. One small pivot today can redirect your entire life a year from now. That's how powerful your choices are, but most people miss it because they're waiting for a massive breakthrough. They overlook the miracle in the mundane, but destiny is not built in dramatic moments. It's built in consistent alignment. You must also understand that your environment plays a role in shaping your identity. If you stay surrounded by people who reinforce your old self, you will struggle to evolve. You have to protect your energy, curate your space, and be ruthless about who gets access to your mind. Because every voice you listen to is either fueling your vision or feeding your fears. And if you want to change your destiny, you must first change what you allow to influence you. There is nothing special about those who succeed other than their willingness to believe in what's possible. They don't have more hours in the day, they don't have fewer problems, they've just made a decision to think differently, act intentionally, and persist long enough to see results. That same power exists in you, the same tools, the same potential. The only question is whether you'll keep repeating the past or start recoding the future. Most people misunderstand emotions. They treat them like permanent conditions instead of passing signals. They let a single bad day define an entire week. They let one wave of sadness make them believe their life is broken. But emotions were never designed to imprison you. They were designed to inform you. They're messengers, not masters. The problem is, we've been conditioned to obey them instead of interpret them. And when you obey emotions that stem from fear, insecurity, doubt, or trauma, you begin to act from a place of survival instead of purpose. You can't build a future from a mindset that's stuck reacting to every temporary feeling as if it's absolute truth. You have to break free from the illusion that what you feel in a moment is the final verdict on who you are or where you're going. Think about this: emotions are created by your thoughts, your perceptions, and your interpretation of events. Two people can go through the exact same situation and feel completely different about it. Why? Because it's not the event that controls your emotional state. It's your story about the event. That means your feelings are not facts. They are reflections of your focus, your meaning, and your mental conditioning. And that also means they are flexible, malleable, changeable. You are not chained to an emotion just because it showed up. You have the power to pause, evaluate, and respond with intention instead of reaction. We live in a culture that either suppresses emotions or worships them. One side says, don't feel anything, be strong, while the other says, if you feel it, it must be true. Both are dangerous. Real power comes from emotional intelligence, the ability to feel deeply but respond wisely, the ability to sit with your sadness without letting it define your worth, to acknowledge your anger without letting it control your tongue, to feel the fear and still move forward. That's strength, that's maturity, that's what separates people who stay stuck from people who break through. Negative emotions aren't enemies, they are invitations. They invite you to explore what's unresolved within you, to confront the beliefs that created them, to pay attention to what your spirit is trying to communicate. If you're constantly anxious, it's not just a sign that something's wrong out there, it's usually a clue that something is out of alignment inside you. If you're filled with anger, it may be pointing to a boundary that's been violated or a truth you've been avoiding. If you feel empty, it might be a signal that you've abandoned your purpose, but instead of getting curious, most people get consumed. They drown in the emotion instead of asking, what is this trying to teach me? When you stop running from your feelings and start learning from them, you reclaim authority over your life. You realize that emotions are just data. They're like traffic lights. Red means pause, yellow means proceed with caution. Green means go, but you don't curse the traffic light, you don't argue with it, you use it as guidance. Your emotions work the same way. They're not problems to be fixed, they're indicators to be understood. And once you begin interpreting them correctly, you stop fearing them, you stop avoiding the discomfort. You start using your emotions as a tool for growth instead of a reason for retreat. This emotional mastery isn't about faking positivity or ignoring pain. It's about choosing your response. It's about knowing that while you may not be able to control what happens around you, you are always in control of what happens within you. You are the gatekeeper. No emotion gets to stay unless you allow it. That doesn't mean you suppress it. It means you listen, learn, and decide how much influence it gets. Because the truth is, emotions will visit, but they don't have to move in. You can feel sadness and still show up. You can feel fear and still take action. You can feel lost and still hold on to purpose. That's the mark of someone who is evolving, someone who is no longer at the mercy of passing moods. Your emotional state is the environment in which your thoughts grow. If your emotions are constantly low anger, guilt, fear, hopelessness, your thoughts will begin to mirror that environment. But when you learn to raise your emotional baseline through gratitude, faith, purpose, and perspective, your thoughts elevate as well. And elevated thoughts lead to elevated actions. That's how change really happens, not by force, but by internal shift. You don't just change your life by changing your behavior. You change it by changing the emotional atmosphere in which your behavior is born. And make no mistake, emotional mastery is a skill. It can be developed. No one is born with it fully formed. It comes through awareness, through intentional practice, through failure and recalibration. It comes when you stop asking, "How do I feel?" and start asking, "What do I want to create?" That one question flips the script. It puts you back in control, because once you understand that your emotions are not dictators, they're data points, you no longer treat them as final. You treat them as feedback, and feedback, when used wisely, leads to transformation. You have the ability to choose your emotional state even when your circumstances are chaotic. That doesn't mean you'll never feel negative emotions. It means you'll never be ruled by them again. You'll see them, feel them, learn from them, and then lead yourself out of them. You'll use them as fuel for your growth, as signals to recalibrate, as tools for deeper understanding. And every time you do that, you take back power from the things that used to control you. You shift from reaction to creation, from confusion to clarity, from fear to freedom, because emotions are not your master, they are your mirror. And once you understand what they're reflecting, you gain the wisdom to change what they reveal.